Documented patrol logs. Authentic visual evidence. Absolute truth. This is bodycam incident reports.
Step away from the Tahoe. Hands where I can see him now.
This is my vehicle. Run the plates. I'm a federal agent.
Yeah, right. You don't look like one. Get on the car.
Check my left pocket. Those are FBI credentials.
Stop resisting.
I'm not resisting. You're assaulting a federal officer.
Officer Silas Graves had patrolled the financial district of Chicago for 19 years. He was a relic of a bygone era, a time when policing was less about community engagement and more about brute force dominance. He called himself the gatekeeper. To his superiors, he was a statistical anomaly, high arrest rates, but an astronomical number of resisting arrest charges attached to those collars. To the community, specifically the minority service workers, valets, and junior executives who worked in the skyscrapers he circled, he was a terror. Graves had accumulated 24 internal affairs complaints in nearly 2 decades. Excessive force, profanity, unlawful search, racial profiling. Every single one had been swept away by a police union that prioritized protection over integrity and a department culture that viewed high arrest numbers as the only metric that mattered. Graves operated on a simple, flawed heuristic. If a black man was wearing a suit in the financial district after 500 p.m., he was either a driver security or a fraudster. He couldn't conceive of a world where black authority superseded his own. On a rainy Tuesday evening in November, that worldview collided with a reality Silas Graves was not prepared to handle. Darius Vance was not just an FBI agent. He was a supervisory special agent in the cyber division, a man who had led task forces that dismantled international trafficking rings and recovered billions in stolen cryptocurrency. He was a graduate of Yale Law School, a former Marine officer, and a 15-year veteran of the Bureau. That evening, he wasn't hunting criminals. He was walking to his car after delivering the keynote speech at a national cybersecurity summit held at the Palmer House Hilton. He was dressed in a bespoke charcoal Tom Ford suit, a cashmere overcoat, and he was carrying a leather briefcase that contained classified briefing documents. He was walking toward his government-issued unmarked Chevrolet Tahoe parked in the VIP section of a secured surface lot. To Officer Graves, sitting in his cruiser across the street, Vance wasn't a high-ranking federal official. He was a tall black man walking with confidence toward a vehicle that didn't belong to him. That cognitive dissonance, the inability to reconcile the man's race with his obvious status, triggered a sequence of events that would shatter the blue wall of silence shall result in a federal civil rights lawsuit and expose the rot at the core of the precinct. Before we dive into the details of this encounter, where are you watching from tonight? Drop your city in the comments. If you believe that no badge should grant immunity for racism, hit that subscribe button. We are building a community dedicated to truth, and your support helps us hold power accountable. The rain was coming down in sheets, blurring the neon lights of the city. The parking lot was largely empty, save for a few luxury sedans and Vance's black Tahoe. Vance beeped the locks, the amber lights of the SUV flashing once. He reached for the door handle, his mind still reviewing the Q&A session from the summit. He didn't see the cruiser surge across the wet asphalt until the siren chirped a short, aggressive burst of sound meant to startle. Vance froze. His training kicked in immediately. Situational awareness. Assess the threat. Hands visible. Officer Graves exited his vehicle. He didn't approach with caution. He approached with predator aggression. Hand on his holster chest, puffed out rain dripping from the brim of his cap. Step away from the vehicle. Step away. Vance turned slowly, keeping his hands raised to chest level, palms open. Officer, can I help you? This is my vehicle. I saw you casing the lot. We've had reports of vehicle break-ins. You don't look like the owner of a government-plated Tahoe. Step back. The insult was veiled, but Vance caught it. You don't look like the owner. Officer? Vance said, his voice calm, projecting the authority he used in interrogation rooms. Check the plates. They are federal government tags. I am a federal agent. My badge is in my jacket. Graves closed the distance, entering Vance's personal space. The smell of stale coffee and aggression radiated off him. I don't see a badge. I see a suspect refusing to comply. I'm going to tell you one more time. Get against the car. I am complying, Vance said, not moving an inch. But I am informing you that you are about to detain a supervisory special agent. I suggest you call your watch commander immediately. Graves laughed. It was a cold, ugly sound. You guys always have a story. I'm an agent. I'm a lawyer. I know the mayor. You know what you are. You're a guy about to eat pavement. Graves lunged. He didn't wait for compliance. He grabbed Vance by the lapel of his $3,000 coat and shoved him backward. Vance, a trained Marine, had the muscle memory to disarm Graves in 2 seconds. He could have broken the officer's wrist and swept his leg before Graves knew what happened. But Vance also knew the reality of being a black man in America. If he fought back even in self-defense, he would be shot. The headline wouldn't be, FBI agent defends himself. It would be, suspect struggles for officer's gun. So Vance went rigid. He allowed himself to be slammed against the wet metal of the Tahoe. Stop resisting. Graves screamed, for the benefit of no one, a rehearsed line to justify the force he was using. He kicked Vance's legs apart. Hands behind your back. I am not resisting, Vance said, pressing his cheek against the cold, wet window of his truck. Check my pocket. Left inside pocket. The credentials are right there. Shut up. Graves wrenched Vance's left arm up behind his back with enough torque to strain the rotator cuff. The handcuffs clicked. The cold steel bit into Vance's wrists. At this moment, 2 people exited the rear of the hotel restaurant nearby. Sarah and Mike, a young couple celebrating an anniversary. They saw the commotion. They saw a white officer manhandling a well-dressed black man who was clearly not fighting back. Mike pulled out his phone. Hey! Mike shouted from 20 yards away. He's not fighting you. Why are you twisting his arm like that, E? Graves whipped his head around. Back up. This is a police investigation. Back the hell up or you're next. I'm recording this, Mike yelled, holding his ground. I'm streaming this right now. We can see he's handcuffed. Ease up on him. Graves ignored them, turning his attention back to his prize. He began to pat Vance down, roughly shoving his hands into the agent's pockets. He was looking for a weapon, drugs, anything to justify the stop after the fact. His hand dove into the inside breast pocket of the soaking wet overcoat. He felt the leather wallet. He pulled it out, expecting to find a fake ID or a stolen credit card. He flipped it open. The gold badge gleamed even in the dim parking lot light. The bold letters were unmistakable, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Below it, the laminated ID card with Vance's photo and the title Supervisory Special Agent. The rain seemed to get louder. For a normal officer, this would be the moment of panic, the moment of apology. The, "Oh my God, sir, I am so sorry, big misunderstanding." But Silas Graves was not a normal officer. He was a bully who had never faced a consequence he couldn't lie his way out of. His mind raced. He's lying. It's fake. Or even if it's real, I can't back down now. If I uncuff him, he destroys me. I have to find something. I have to make him the criminal. Graves threw the badge onto the hood of the car. Fake? Graves spat. Nice prop. Where'd you buy it online? Vance, still pressed against the car, closed his eyes for a brief second. The sheer audacity was stunning. Officer, listen to me very carefully. That is federal property. You have just committed a felony by discarding it. My weapon is on my right hip. It is a Glock 19M issued by the Bureau. If you touch it, I will consider it a threat to my life. Call your supervisor. Now. I'll call them when I'm done processing you for impersonating an officer and possession of a concealed weapon. Graves reached for Vance's hip. He felt the gun. Don't touch it. Vance warned, his voice dropping an octave. It was the voice of a man who commanded task forces, a voice that brokered hostage situations. You are not authorized to disarm a federal agent. Verify the badge. Run the name. Do your job before you end your life as you know it. Graves hesitated. The confidence in Vance's voice was penetrating the officer's arrogance. Dispatch. Graves keyed his radio, his voice wavering slightly for the first time. I've got a suspect in custody. 1032, man with a gun. Claims to be a Fed. Need a supervisor at the Palmer House lot. Copy 1032, the dispatcher replied. Supervisor en route. While they waited, Vance stood in the rain, humiliated. The water soaked through his expensive suit. The handcuffs chafed his wrists. He thought about his father who had marched in Selma. He thought about his law degree hanging in his office. He thought about the oath he took to defend the Constitution. and he realized that to Officer Graves, none of that mattered. He was just a body to be subjugated. The witnesses, Mike and Sarah, had moved closer. "Sir, are you okay?" Sarah asked, zooming in on Vance's face. "I am a federal agent," Vance said, loud enough for the phone to pick up. "This officer has ignored my credentials. He has assaulted me. He is holding me unlawfully." "You shut your mouth." Graves stepped in front of Vance, trying to block the camera's view. "He's a suspect. He's resisting." "He's standing perfectly still," Mike yelled back. "The only one acting crazy here is you." 3 minutes later, a sergeant's SUV tore into the lot lights, flashing. Sergeant Miller stepped out. He was a younger supervisor by the book, trying to clean up the precinct's reputation. He saw Graves. He saw the suspect in cuffs. He saw the civilians recording. "Graves, what the hell do we have here?" Miller approached Rain, squinting his eyes. "Guy was breaking into this Tahoe." Graves lied, pointing at Vance. "Found a gun on him. Flashed a fake FBI badge. He was aggressive, had to detain him." Miller looked at Vance. He saw the suit. He saw the demeanor. He looked at the Tahoe. He saw the USGOVT tiny print on the license plate frame. Miller's stomach dropped. "Sir," Miller addressed Vance, bypassing Graves, "do you have identification?" "It's on the hood of my car," Vance said icily. "Where your officer threw it." Miller looked at the hood. The leather wallet was sitting in a puddle of rainwater. Miller picked it up. He opened it. He shined his flashlight on the holographic seal. He looked at the ID. He looked at Vance. Miller closed his eyes and exhaled a long, shaky breath. He turned to Graves. "Graves, uncuff him." "Sarge, it's a good fake look at the—" "I said uncuff him right now." Miller roared, his voice cracking like a whip across the lot. "That is a supervisory special agent. Take the cuffs off." Graves froze. The reality crashed down on him. The fake was real. The thug was a superior officer in the hierarchy of law enforcement. Graves fumbled for his keys. His hands were shaking. He unlocked the cuffs. Vance didn't rub his wrists. He didn't cringe. He simply straightened his coat, turned around, and fixed Graves with a stare that could have cut glass. "Supervisor," Vance said to Miller, his voice calm but terrifying. "I want this officer's name and badge number. I want your name and badge number. I want the body camera footage secured immediately. And I want a perimeter established. This is now a crime scene involving the assault of a federal officer." "Sir, I apologize, Miller started. "Save it." Vance cut him off. He pointed at Graves. You are done. You don't know it yet, but you are done." Vance walked over to the witnesses. "Did you get all of that?" "Every second," Mike said, handing Vance a card. "I'll email it to you. I'm posting it right now." "Thank you." Vance turned back to the police. "I'm going to make a phone call to the special agent in charge of the Chicago field office. Then I am calling the United States Attorney. Do not leave this lot." Vance got into his Tahoe, locked the doors, and picked up his secure line. He didn't call to brag. He called to initiate war. Do you think officers who ignore credentials should face criminal charges, not just administrative leave? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. The video hit Twitter an hour later. It was titled, "Racist Cop Handcuffs FBI Agent, Claims Badge is Fake." By the next morning, it had 4 million views. By noon, it was the lead story on CNN, Fox, and MSNBC. The image of Special Agent Vance, dignified in his suit, standing in the rain while a disheveled Officer Graves screamed at him, became the defining image of the year. The Chicago Police Department tried to get ahead of it. They issued a statement, "We are aware of an incident involving an off-duty interaction. Officer Graves has been placed on desk duty pending an investigation." Desk duty, paid vacation. But they had underestimated Darius Vance. Vance didn't just file a complaint. He filed a federal civil rights lawsuit under Section 1983. But more importantly, he utilized the resources of the Department of Justice. Because Graves had detained a federal agent and interfered with federal duties, the FBI opened its own investigation into the precinct. They weren't just looking at the stop. They were looking at Graves' entire history. They found the 24 complaints. They found the body cam footage of Graves calling a Latino delivery driver a slur. They found the reports of him turning off his camera during arrests. They found the pattern. 6 weeks after the incident, the press conference was held. But it wasn't the police chief speaking. It was the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois standing next to Darius Vance. "We are announcing a federal indictment against Officer Silas Graves," the U.S. Attorney announced. "Charges include deprivation of rights under color of law assault on a federal officer and obstruction of justice." The police union abandoned Graves. The video was too damning. The victim was too powerful. During the trial, Graves' defense was pathetic. He claimed he feared for his life. He claimed the rain obscured his vision. He claimed he was just doing his job. Vance took the stand. He didn't raise his voice. He walked the jury through the encounter minute by minute. "I identified myself 3 times, Vance told the jury. "I offered my credentials. I submitted to the restraints. At no point did Officer Graves treat me as a citizen, let alone a fellow officer. He treated me as a stereotype. He saw my skin color, and he decided I did not belong in that car, in that lot, or in his city." The jury deliberated for 4 hours, guilty on all counts. Silas Graves was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. He lost his pension. He lost his right to own a firearm. He lost his freedom. But the story didn't end with Graves. The investigation sparked by Vance's arrest uncovered a ring of officers in that precinct who were falsifying police reports to cover for each other's misconduct. 4 other officers were fired. The Sergeant Miller was demoted for failure to supervise properly prior to the incident. The Chicago Police Department was forced into a consent decree mandating new training on interacting with plainclothes officers and a complete overhaul of their racial profiling audit system. Vance returned to his job at the FBI, but he was changed. He started a mentorship program for young minority law enforcement officers. He traveled to police academies to teach a course titled Perception versus Reality: The Bias That Kills. 3 years later, Vance stood on a stage at a graduation ceremony for new FBI agents at Quantico. He looked out at the sea of faces, black, white, Asian, Hispanic. "I have faced cartels," Vance told them. "I have stared down terrorists. But the most dangerous moment of my life happened in a parking lot in Chicago facing a man who wore the same color uniform as the local police." The room was silent. "That officer had power," Vance continued. "He had the power of the state behind him, and he used that power to try to strip me of my dignity because he could not accept that I was his equal. Abuse of power is not just a policy violation. It is a cancer. It eats away at the trust that is the very foundation of this democracy." He leaned into the microphone. "You are about to be given immense power. You will have a badge. You will have a gun. You will have the authority to take away a person's freedom. Never forget that with that power comes a terrifying responsibility. You must be better than your biases. You must be smarter than your prejudices. Because if you let your badge become a shield for your bigotry, you are not an officer of the law. You are a criminal with a pension, and I promise you justice will come for you just as it came for Silas Graves." Vance walked off the stage to a standing ovation. Silas Graves sat in a federal penitentiary in Indiana. He was no longer the wolf of the West Side. He was inmate 49201. He spent his days mopping floors, thinking about the 10 seconds in the rain where he decided that a black man in a suit was a target instead of a peer. He had lost everything because of his ego. He had lost everything because he refused to listen. This story is a stark reminder that success education and even a federal badge are often not enough to shield people of color from the dangers of racial profiling. It reminds us that for some officers, the skin color is the only probable cause they need. But it is also a story of accountability. It proves that when we record, when we speak up, and when we refuse to back down, the system can be forced to work. If you believe that we need a national standard for police misconduct that prevents officers like Graves from hopping from department to department, type accountability in the comments right now. We need to keep sharing these stories. We need to keep the cameras rolling, because the only thing that stops the abuse of power is the light of truth. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please share it with 3 friends. Together we can change the narrative. Stay safe, know your rights, and never stop fighting for the truth. See you in the next video.
Our review is now complete. For more unedited field recordings, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching Bodycam Incident Reports.